One of the things that you talked about in the book was this idea that, as you said before, that their class could not thrive unless everybody did. Do you think that we're at a moment where we're starting to, here and now, begin to have that conversation more realistically?
I don't know, right? I mean, I know on the one hand you have the business roundtable, you have CEOs like Larry Fink of BlackRock, to some degree Jamie Dimon in the financial world, and then of course, CEOs like Herbert Joly of Best Buy, and there's clearly a move globally toward at least the patois of corporate responsibility and corporate citizenship, and the idea that the the purpose of a corporation is not purely to enrich shareholders, that there are multiple stakeholders. I don't love the stakeholder jargon, by the way. I don't know why. I guess because it's the way it's used. But
Mm.
the idea that a company and a collective has a series of responsibilities that are interlinked, and that if you pursue any one of them detached from the others, you ultimately create severe societal imbalances. Look, I think that's vital, and to the degree that there were elites in American capitalism in the 19th century who kind of understood, not always consciously, what I keep jokingly refer to as the Spider-Man view of society, right? With great power comes great responsibility.
Mhm.
And a lot of these elite institutions like Groton and these private schools in the late 1900s, and then even the elite schools like Yale et al., they were partly in the business of training the elite, and they were all young men, and they were mostly white young men, training them that they had responsibilities as elites, right? That they couldn't just be in it for themselves. They had to kind of be in it for their class, but for their country, for their society. And the turn in culture in the 60s and 70s against that elitism,
Mhm.
partly because of the effects of Vietnam, partly because of a sense it was anti-democratic and hierarchical and exclusionary, all true.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
was exclusionary. It was, if not anti-democratic, it was kind of questionably democratic. The idea of like the people are too dirty and unpredictable to be left to their own decisions. But the flip side, but you had an elite that believed that it had a responsibility to society, and that their actions implicated not just their own world, but the globe, in the case of the mid 20th century American elite and the power that
Mhm.
the United States had globally. And I think there's something to be learned from that, not returned to, right? Because you don't want to return to, like, you and I would have had no seat at those tables. Yeah. And I don't think we want that world, right? If you weren't born the right gender, the right class, the right religion, the right place, thank you very much. You stay in your lane, we'll lead the world.
Mhm.
And but the responsibility factor, I'm highly critical of tech elites writ large right now.
Mhm.
Uh, and for every generalization, there's, I'm sure, lots of legitimate exceptions, and you could point out people. But to the degree that the tech elite in the past 10 years have gotten vastly rich and the companies have become incredibly powerful
Mhm.
without seeming to understand that there's a social contract there. There's a degree to which, if you shape the world you're in, you have a responsibility to actually engage that world and confront the implications,
Mhm.
even if unintended, of your business models, of your practices. And I think, like, the WASP elite that Brown Brothers represented, had that. That's why they went into government. It wasn't really for power per se. They had the power. It was genuinely for public service,
Mhm.
which again was self-serving,
Mhm.
but of service.
Mhm.
All of the and I wish that, like, tech elites in Silicon Valley was much more of that mindset, insofar as it recognized, hey, we should be engaging public discussions about privacy,
Mhm.
about who gets to use whose data and for what profit, about control versus openness, about information, and both wants to be free and people want to charge for it. Like, that should be a conversation
Mhm.
with government, with the public, with its constituents, all of it. And I don't see that.